Welcome everyone to the Post-ADE Power Hour. I am very excited to share some insights with all of you. My name is Skyote Moon. I am the founder and chief visibility officer at Synthesis Agency. And this was our second year attending ADE, and it was incredible. And if you haven't gotten to attend it, I highly recommend. But fortunately, you're here right now, and I can help share some of the insights I received. And that's one of the amazing things about this event is it's literally sitting with the major players in the industry, the people who are calling shots, the people who are really shaping the direction of the industry from the professionals down, not down, up to the artists, I like to say, because the artists are really like, you guys are what makes the community, what makes the industry so incredible. It's the artists. And so that's really one of the big missions here at Synthesis Agency and why I wanted to do this, because I just really believe in the artists, and I believe that you guys are the ones who are fueling the industry forward, and it's your ability to connect with your fans. It's your ability to create experiences for people that makes our scene so incredible. So we're gonna dive into what I took away as some of the key insights and things that I think can be really helpful for you guys, and just building your artist career and like really taking control of it. So I'm gonna start right there, because I'm curious to know like how many of you actually feel like you are in control of your artist career and that you have the power to shape the direction that it's going, and you have the ability to create something that's sustainable for yourself. Or, and I know it's a lot managing an artist career, or do you feel a little helpless? Do you feel like, oh man, this is like out of my control. There's so many moving parts. It's so difficult marketing myself, being seen, all of those things. And so I just want to like plant this seed out there, because really the landscape has changed so much in the industry. And I think, and any of you have been in it for a while, which I think all three of you have been in it for a while that are here live. And you know, like it has been changing and shifting so rapidly, pre-pandemic, pandemic, post-pandemic, like this kind of timeline that we're in now, we've seen so many changes. And that means as artists, we have to adopt and we have to be flexible. But the real like caveat here, and the really exciting thing, and this was emphasized a lot at the conference, is that at no other time in the music industry has an artist had the ability to take such control of their career and build it the way we want. We all know that it used to be, you know, labels, promoters, the people behind the scenes, they had the reins. Like they were in charge of what direction you were gonna go. And they were in charge of who's gonna get seen, who's gonna get heard, whose music is gonna be, you know, topping the charts or whatever. And it's not that way anymore. Like the thing that is so incredible about this time for artists is that you get to decide the narrative, the direction, what you want to put out there, how you want to put it out there, who you want to connect with, and the fact that you even get to connect with them yourself, right? And so I want to start this whole power hour, as you can see, like that's kind of the vibe here, is just like, let's recognize this first and foremost, that this timeline is an opportunity right now for you to just take full control of your career. And being right here, right now, it's like you're already doing the thing. And so just recognizing you're already a lot of steps ahead of most people, because you're taking the time to actually ask yourself, how am I going to build my career in a sustainable way? How am I going to do it in a way that is, you know, I'll have longevity in the industry? Because we've all seen people burn out, and we know this, you know, and it's like, it really takes a lot of resilience and a lot of courage and a lot of strength to navigate this industry and be successful and do it in a way that's really authentic to you. So these are the themes that we're kind of going to weave in here throughout this whole hour. So the first piece, and this really ties into what we're talking about right here, is just understanding the mindset of the artist entrepreneur. And many of you maybe don't know, but I work with a lot of artists behind the scenes. Our marketing agency works with a lot of artists behind the scenes. And I'm going to tell you that this one mindset shift is huge. The artists that even we work with, that I see success with, and are really moving and accelerating their path forward have adopted this mindset. They do not see it as just, a hobby. And so that's my question for you. Like, I think this is an important question to ask. Are you a hobbyist or are you a professional? And there's like nothing wrong with this being just your passion project and something you do for fun. There is nothing wrong with that. And I also just want you to really think, like, if you really want to grow, because it is savage out there and there is a lot of competition and there is a lot of noise, that adopting a mindset of professionalism is really going to help you. I was sitting in one of the talks at ADE, and the artist Scuba was talking about this specifically, and how for them in their journey, that switch when it flipped of like, oh right, I run a business was huge. And what accelerated for them after that point, and how they were able to look at kind of the ecosystem of their artist career, not just, okay, cool, like here's my next gig and like here's some videos and here's some things. No, it started to be like, all right, cool, I have all these gigs, but what am I building off of this? I have this music that I'm releasing, so what am I building off of this? And starting to think in a much bigger way, starting with brand, starting with developing a real clear sense of direction and like understanding like what are you actually trying to achieve by doing all this. Again, there's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist, but if you want a career as an artist, or for example, let's take like a Sweet Nectar, it's a collective and it's a group and they're doing events. Like if you want to keep building those events, it's like, okay, like what are those steps? What are those essential things that I need to keep doing or start doing in order to really promote myself and market myself? And so I think it's just important to be really honest with ourselves about where we're at in this and understand that beyond being an artist, you're a brand. And beyond being a brand is a business, and a business markets itself. And when we can just like eradicate this resistance to that, because I know, and I think we probably all know other artists that feel this way, that marketing ourselves is just like this huge chore and we want to just be making music, we want to just play gigs, etc., etc. That's just not the reality. And so we can either be on that negative mindset, like we talked about, of just like, oh man, like I've got to create content and I got to do this stuff and I got to plan for this and kind of be in this, or we can look at like, holy shit, this is a huge opportunity. Like if I even put 20% more effort in than the person next to me, I'm gonna like start accelerating my career a lot. So just holding that, like everyone here has that potential to take complete control. And it really it starts in the mindset. It starts in really seeing opportunity and things. And in those moments when it's really challenging and it's like, I don't want to be doing this, like getting out of your own way is kind of how I like to look at it. It's just like getting out of our own way and recognizing like, what's the next step? And that can be a helpful way with, any sort of entrepreneurial journey. if any of you have been in that world, freelancing or like on your own, working on your own or working for yourself, which I think a lot of artists do. It's that overwhelm and being able to just track back step by step. Here's what's next. Here's my next goal. Here's the next thing. And using that as a way to just like anchor the energy, anchor the direction. Because I think a lot of us try to do everything at once. Like, I want to do this and I want to promote that and I want this thing and I want that. And then, and it's like, okay, cool. So part of this can be looking at like what season you're in as an artist and what it is you're really trying to achieve. Are you trying to grow your fan base right now? Are you trying to release more music? Are you trying to get more gigs? Like, kind of narrowing it down sometimes can really help you to like focus in and give yourself some direction. And this is all part of that being an entrepreneur kind of thing. It's not just like hanging out and love make music. So I think you guys all probably get that, but I wanted to put that out there because I think it's really, if we can really work that mindset on a consistent basis, then we are gonna find that path to sustainability. And really kind of to segue into the next thing that I think was reiterated, I can't tell you how many times at ADE, like sitting in every single conference and panel, almost every person that I talked to at ADE was this piece around artist brand and branding yourself. and developing a very cohesive, strong, understandable brand that your fans relate to. And so this is kind of our next big takeaway. And that is really defining that artist, what I call it your DNA, like what makes you you as an artist, your artist DNA. And that translates to a brand. And a brand, for those of you who maybe don't know, or maybe some of you have already started this process, it encompasses so much more than your music. Your brand is like what you value, what your vision is, how you want people to feel when they connect with you. All of these things come together to create your brand. And it was very interesting to hear former executives of TikTok, Spotify, in the Meta panel, every single one of them, like their companies do something totally different, but their core message in their presentation was, you need to develop your brand. You need to get really clear on who you are. And the people who are successful right now are the ones who can show up in that consistently again and again and again. And I'm gonna call you out, Jessica, because I think that you're someone who does this really, really well. And I would invite people to go and check out your page if you want to drop it in the chat. Because this is a really good example of just bringing together, a vision, a voice, an aesthetic, and a style, and consistent. I mean, this girl is consistently showing up in it, having a very fun, a thread that unifies everything. This is a process too. And we as artists evolve a lot and very quickly often. Our sound changes, our feeling changes, we're driven by emotions if we're artists. Let's just be real. That is what drives us to make music. That is what drives us to be out in the world. And so the more time you can spend getting to know yourself and knowing who you are and how you really want to express this out in the world, the stronger not only the brand, but the real benefit here that I think people often overlook, this makes it way easier to market yourself. It is so much easier when you have a clear sense of all right, cool, the visual aesthetic, that helps. But what is your vibe and your message that you want to come through? When you kind of have a clear understanding, this is why I'm here, this is what it's about, this is who I want to communicate, and all those pieces are very clear for you, I guarantee that the marketing part becomes easier. The content creation becomes way easier because you're not starting from square one every single day when you're trying to create a post or something or send out an email to your fans. It's no, I have a very clear sense of what we're talking about here. And it can shift seasonally, like I said, with maybe your focus in terms of your business. What am I focused on in terms of my career growth right now? But at the end of the day, there's always this thread and there's always something that's tying everything together. And the other piece around brand, so I mentioned kind of values, right? This is something that I've seen, in our client work over the last year of really diving into making our artists get really clear about what they value. And values speak directly to your fans. And so I just want to emphasize this as kind of a side note around brand, that the piece around what you value and being able to take a stand for what you value in whatever way. It can be a vocal thing. It can just be in the energy and the presence and what you bring through. It can be in the message that you write in the captions, all of it. This is where people see themselves in you. This is where they go, oh, right, this place is for me, or this artist is for me, or really, this music is for me. This community is for me. I belong here. So values help create that sense of belonging. And belonging is what makes people feel like those loyal super fans, right? They're just all right, this is my person. They get me. They get what I'm going through, why I'm here, because they're seeing that in what you share. And that can come in a lot of ways. Like I said, it can be, subtle messages. It can be, something that's super important right now is mastering the ability to tell a story. When you tell stories about yourself, your music, your journey in it, and you like allow people to see that. We'll get into this a little bit more, but like this is what really starts to bring people close to you. And your super fans are the ones who are gonna go tell everyone else. And often they are better at spreading the word than social media is ever gonna be better at spreading the word, because it's a direct emotional connection. I would imagine, Liz, like you've probably experienced this with like what you've done with Sweet Nectar. It's like not so much about the post, or, you know, you guys have a really great, you know, WhatsApp channel and stuff going, which is awesome. But it's like those experiences people have, and then they tell their friends, and then they bring their friend, you know, it's just like a ripple effect. So that's what we're trying to do with brand, is create this like sense of belonging by showcasing who we are as artists, telling stories, making a very cohesive like message and voice that comes through, so people feel like you're speaking to them like directly, whether it's like literally directly or not. It's like they feel so welcomed in the energy. They feel a part of what you're creating. I cannot emphasize that much, or emphasize that more, to like really think about making people feel like they are a part of your journey. And so clarifying brand, clarifying what makes you unique, or what I like to call your edge. What is your edge? Like, what is it that makes you different as an artist? Because I want you to lean into your edge so fully and trust it so completely, because that edge is going to be the thing that differentiates you. That edge is the thing that people are going to remember you by. And so looking at that and feeling into like, what are these key things that just make you different? And it doesn't have to be about music. It can be things in your life. It can be like, you know, for example, like the way you're going to show up in content, you know, like maybe you're like super into your cats. I have a client who's like really into his cats, you know, but we use it to his advantage. You know, we use it because this person actually doesn't really like to be on camera a lot or do a lot of that kind of content. So we have lots of fun, like cat studio kind of things, and then, you know, all the other stuff. So my point is that you get to find these little threads that maybe are even outside the scope of your music that allow people to connect with you even more. Like there's definitely a cult cat following on that page, you know? And those people are coming to shows, and they're supporting the music, and they're becoming, you know, loyal fans, because they're like, okay, cool. Like there's more here than just music. And that's, I think, the thing that we have to always be aware of. It's like, it's more than just music. The people in the EDM scene, yes, music is a huge part, but there's something else we get on the dance floor together. There's something else we get when a DJ or an artist can tap into like kind of an intangible feeling. You get to use your platforms as that same kind of space. This is a really powerful reframe, by the way, for social media. I'm just like kind of skipping ahead to this right now because it's what's flowing. When you can think of your platforms as an extension of the dance floor, like actually like feel it when you think about that. When you're like, oh wait, okay, so what if creating content and like showing up to market myself like is just an extension of my dance floor? It's not about like, oh my God, let me try to get people to come to my show, buy my music, like get into this like headspace of like get, you know? And instead just like, all right, how can I have fun just like really transmitting my own energy and presence that I would do if I was behind the decks, but I'm just doing it here. And it might seem like, okay, well, there's no people to interact with, because I know this is like, I've got you guys. I know this is the one thing that I get all the time. Yeah, but it's different when there's people in front of you DJing, and like you've all DJed, well, a lot of DJs, mostly anyone who started, DJ to an empty room. Like it happens, you know? So I get it. I know what that feels like, but you're still there. You're still present. You still create an energy. You still create a vibe. So even though you don't see the other people on the side of the screen, just like take this little piece and see if it shifts how you show up. Like see if it makes a difference and maybe lightens the load. So yes, I feel like that kind of like skipped ahead where I wanted to be. Well, whatever, we're all good. The other piece with the edge, actually, that's what I wanted to mention here. if you're kind of like, okay, what is that edge? You kind of define a few things. Another thing you can do is like really get some keywords. Like I like to use keywords like what's your vibe, you know, how would you describe your music and the energy of it? And using those keywords, I even like will put keywords like where you can see them every day and be like, oh yeah, that's like kind of the energy, that's the vibe. Like this is how I would create. And I find it really helpful. And again, you can by season according to like what it is you're focused on and like what it is that you want to, you know, where in your career growth you are right now, you can, you know, alter those words because like maybe things shift for you, or maybe like you have a release coming out. This is actually really helpful for releases. Like if you have music that's coming out, spend time, like develop an entire thread around just that alone, like an entire narrative around your music. This is something I think that a lot of artists actually don't, that they miss the mark on this. And I see it because I work with a lot of artists and we have to go back and do this process. But if you're working on music and you're going to be releasing music, start developing your narratives now. This is that storytelling piece. This is that edge that we're talking about. Going in and like really looking at like the threads and how are you gonna tell a story? Because this is your content gold. Like the storytelling piece is your content gold. So yeah, I invite you to like not just think about brand as like this one giant thing, but like within your brand are all these little moments that you're cultivating an energy and a way to relate to people. I find that helpful and not as overwhelming sometimes, especially with like music releases and event promo and things like that. It's like each one of these things has like their own energy and their own themes and the own, you know, idea that you want to like really land with people. So the point is that the more you like kind of master this piece of narrative too, and like weaving this sort of edge of who you are and like the story within it, this like strengthens the brand, this strengthens the relatability. So we kind of already like started up a little bit of convo around the social media piece. And of course, you know, beyond branding at ADE, which I mean, I can't tell you, like we just went on and on about branding, but was the social media piece, you know, and being consistent and being seen on social media. And you're probably like, oh, okay, Skyote, yes, we know we have to be on social media. But again, like why I gave you that little gem a second ago is because I actually believe these platforms are an incredible tool for us as artists, and we can just do so much with them. And if we can get out of our own way enough and look at it beyond just like this marketing thing that we're doing, or beyond just like, well, I have to do this, and start to see it as that extension of who we are, that extension of our brand, and a way for us to share the message, to share what's like the deeper thing within our music and our path that we like really want to connect with people. Because if you start to show people you genuinely actually give a fuck, they are going to give a fuck back. And taking time. So there's a couple things that I just want to put that are kind of like bullet points under here that were, you know, really key things around the social media that I think, you know, several people delivered throughout that week. And one of them, just in general, is just this overcoming kind of this fear of, I kind of like to think of it as like just really going for it and being seen going for it. And I mean, I think we all have had the experience that it feels really scary to be seen in situations where we're like, yeah, what's up? Like, here it is, here's my music, here's this. And like putting this like full force of energy behind something when like maybe there's no tangible proof of anything yet. You know, I'm going to use Synthesis as an example. You know, it's like 200 followers, you know, here we're going to shoot all these videos. We're going to do all this thing. There's an edge there, you know, there's an edge that's being ridden consistently of like, all right, well, you know, like I can either continue to hide and like not show up and share my voice, or I can like kind of get over myself and just be like, it's actually not that big a deal. Most people don't remember what you did the day before on social media. Like this is such a like, the attention deficit is real, you know? And so letting go, just starting to really let go and letting yourself be seen and being experimental in the process. Wow, like you're gonna accelerate your path so much. Just those two things of shifting the mindset around social media, getting out of your own way, is going to open up so many doors for you, so many doors. And hopefully the door that's going to open is finding that dance floor playful energy with it and starting to feel like there can be moments where it is genuine, where it is authentic, where there is connection. And so I wanted to bring in this other piece that, there was a really incredible panel that they did on how social media is really changing the landscape of the music industry and the experience that we have when we go to events. So if you think about, most social media these days, right? It's like the fast drops, the TikTok era, right? It's like fast drops, quick edits, people are only going to look at the first 3 seconds of your video, right? And you think about how artists are constructing their sets, or you think about how promoters are booking people, right? And there's been like a real trend for like this certain very fast like style and way of like presenting the artist, including like the artist adopting like, oh yeah, I better have like all these drops in my music, I better play all the remixes of the hits, I better do this, or like no one's gonna respond to anything. And it was a very interesting discussion because, one of the artists on that panel was talking about how they basically milked that whole trend, let's just say, right? The bigger trend of things, and had really made it work. And another artist who really felt the opposite way, that like, okay, cool, that's a trend, but like that's not sustainable. Like that's not going to be a sustainable thing. So this is a seed I just want to plant, around avoiding these traps around trends and virality with social media for a few reasons. One, trends and virality can really pull us away from that authentic brand, that piece, that thing that is like the through line and the thread, because we start to try to adopt ourselves out to other ideas. And this is kind of like a deep topic, really, when you think about it. But I think one of the things that one of the responsibilities we have in the industry as artists who want to operate with authenticity and integrity is to be looking at these things and to be looking at, am I just trying to like parse myself out into something that is, gonna get me viral, so like I get booked because then I have like the follower count, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that's wrong or anything. I'm just saying it's worthy to be looking at. Any place where you're separating from yourself and from your authentic brand is worthy to be looking at it and asking like, how do I continue to close any sort of gap between how I show up, let's say behind the decks, how I show up on my social media? Because I really think of the artist behind the decks is like their truest expression of self is coming through, because you're kind of channeling sound, like you're creating something in the moment that's coming through you, an idea and a vision. And we want to experience that online. We want that integrity. We want that authenticity. And it's a much bigger picture concept than just like, let me get booked. So there's the piece around, I want to directly connect my fans, but how do you do that? It's the authentic content. There might be times when trends adopt really well to your natural style. Like if you're kind of like like your vibe of creating content is like the funny, maybe a skit type person, and that's what you do, then some of these trends are going to be really, really great. Other trends, where it's like very simple, short looped clips with like a very powerful message over, that's like a whole type of trend, and using trending audio and things like that. So there's ways to like use trends that amplify. And that would be what I would say when it comes to virality and trends. Is it going to amplify who you are? Or in the creative process or in trying to adopt a trend, do you start to feel like, oh, like, I don't know, like, I just like really can't do that? Or like, I always find it's like a sensation that I feel. It's like not the cringe thing. It's kind of just this like this feeling inauthentic. And so I just wanted to bring that up because a couple of different panelists brought this up as, a real issue for themselves of like, oh man, I just got to continually try to create things that are going to get me to go viral, which feels like very not nourishing to themselves as artists. And then like trying to balance that, and trying to balance understanding these platforms and what works on these platforms, what doesn't work, without losing touch with who you are as an artist and that DNA, that thing that makes you you. The other big piece around the social media stuff that I think was very emphasized by a lot of people, and this was really cool because promoters even talked about this, which I thought was great, because like, I could do a whole talk on the artist promoter relationship, but is just the focus on engagement. And so again, people get really like fixated on trends, virality, like building numbers quickly, But what happens when we go really viral, a lot of times it's not actually based on something that is cultivated from a real connection. It's usually because like, what luck, it hits in the algorithm right. You adopted a trend really well. And that's a thing with trends. Like if it is not aligned with you and you share based off a trend, go viral, most of those followers are not going to be fans. They're going to be people who just like saw this like trend thing, but it's actually not expressing who you are. So this is why we have to be wary of this. But to come back to this piece on engagement, this was something that, quite a few people said that they're looking for now. Labels are looking for, promoters are looking for. They're looking for engaged fan base. Engaged fan base does not equal a follower count. It equals people who are actually engaged with your content, meaning they're in your comment section, they're opting into your stuff, they're coming out to your shows, they're supporting you in some way. And so on social media, we can like really show that. We can show that by how people are interacting with our content. And I loved to hear that there is some shift in the industry now, that, the whole like influencer DJ thing, all of that, we all know that's a thing. And, there's a lot of people higher up in the industry that are just like, they're not here for it. Like they actually aren't. And again, it's sort of like, within the actions we take as artists, like we shape the landscape of the music industry. And so this is another area where by prioritizing engagement, like we shift the overall experience of everybody in the scene. And so spending time to really engage with your fans is so important. Like not just posting and praying, like I say, or posting and ghosting, like people say. It's just, how can I spend time actually connecting with people? And I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into engagement strategies in a minute that are also just beyond social media, because I do think, I agree social media has its limitations for engagement, partially because of the way content gets pushed in the algorithms and things like that. Not everyone sees your stuff. Not everyone gets the opportunity to even engage with your content, right? And so engagement has to be thought of beyond social media as well. We'll drop into that in a minute, like I said. But within the social media space, it's getting creative and also spending time and realizing social media is a reciprocal space. It's not just about you and like, here's my stuff, here's my stuff, here's my stuff. Hopefully they're going to follow me. Hopefully they're going to buy a ticket. Hopefully they're going to, buy my release. It's like, we got to give something, in return. And I know you probably feel like you give a lot already, because this is a lot for one person. Let's just say a single artist. If you're out there doing this yourself, I recognize how much and how many moving pieces you're dealing with every day. But I think that this piece around engaging with people, listening to them, understanding them, and using that to inform like how you show up, to help guide you, to help you know this is how I can connect with people in a better way. Know that this is, watch your insights, watch what's happening. Oh, people are like kind of really connecting with this content. Okay, cool. Like I'm going to go out and I'm going to start creating a little bit more of this stuff, and using these insights and using this information to fuel that engagement. And at the most bare minimum basic level, respond to people, respond to comments. I know it sounds like ridiculous, like so obvious, but I'm on social media. I don't even want to tell anyone how much I'm on social media every day, actually. So we're not going to look at screen time. But I'm seeing like these threads. I'm seeing, and observing. And I can't believe how many times I'm like, wow, there's like no response to any of these. Fans are leaving like their hearts on a platter. You know what I mean? Like they had this experience and there's nothing back. And I just can't emphasize, like, I've seen it happen with clients where, you know, working with really focusing on responding to those, you know, very special comments and those special moments in the DMs or in you know, the threads, captions and stuff like that. Those people then they start sharing stuff. Then they start, like, they become the super fan / super spreader, I called it. Like, they're the people that go out and start telling everybody about you and start telling everyone about your events or whatever. And so this piece, with the engagement, I just think, like, it should really, really be a priority. And it should be a priority beyond trying to be viral and all of this, because that's what people are looking at. Like, they're looking at, like, okay, cool, that's fine if you have 100,000 followers, but, like, literally no one comments or engages with any of your content. Like, that's bot. Like, I'm sorry. Like, there's no way, you know? It's just so much different when you look at artists who, like, really, you can see, like, oh, these people are, like, invested. And promoters and labels, they recognize it. And some of them, you know, just to bring it back to ADE for a second too, there was a couple label owners that said they don't even look at the social media accounts anymore. Like, they're looking for good music, you know? And then depending on how robust that label is in terms of, like, their marketing teams or whatever, they're gonna go in after the fact and, like, really deal with that piece, you know? And so just to, like, also put that out there for people who are, you know, trying to get booked and working on releasing music and all of that, like, there are labels, there are promoters out there that are about the music and they exist. And so being able to have an engaged fan base is going to help you to connect with those people, you know, to help them see, okay, cool, like, this person is, like, out here doing the thing. And so before we kind of move on to, you know, the deeper layer of engagement and this other very huge piece that was present at ADE, just, you know, just asking yourself, like, where are blocks for you in being seen, and continually asking yourself, like, how can I show up more as myself? How can I embody my brand more? How can I, like, allow people to come on this journey with me more? And even in the moment of posting things and creating content for social media, asking these kinds of questions, like the purpose that it serves and who are you trying to connect with, and getting clear before you press post, like, is this stuff really in alignment, like, with where I'm trying to go and what I'm trying to grow? And making a much more, I like to think of, like, a holistic approach to this. It's not just, like, numbers and metrics. It's like, this is you, like, to me, the artist, I'm just like, you're literally putting your heart out there every day, you know, like, you have this opportunity to put your heart out there every day and allow people to connect with you. And that's a very, very beautiful, beautiful thing and opportunity that we have. And so to take this, like, engagement piece just, like, a little bit deeper, this was big. And I sat through a couple panels on this about data collection. Very sexy, I know. Data collection and direct to fan communication. And I cannot emphasize enough, no matter where you are in your journey, I don't care if you have, like, no followers. I don't care if you have, like, 1,000 or, like, you've got 40,000. If you are not cultivating connections outside of social media and a way to connect with people, you do not have a solid foundation under you, because we all know social media, volatile space, always changing. Tragic things happen, like, pages get deleted. I had a client this year get their entire Facebook page hacked, 140,000 likes following on that Facebook page, gone. Not able to promote their tour, run meta ads, do anything. Like, it was really intense and really hard for them. And honestly, they suffered because they didn't have a really strong other way to communicate with their fans. And so this was a very eye-opening lesson in that experience, but also to hear at ADE how many people were emphasizing this. And so if you're in it for the long term, this is something that you need to take action on immediately. And that is, there's so many ways to do this. That's the other thing. Like, there's a million ways to do this. A couple of you in here I know have WhatsApp channels. Awesome. That's a great way to do it. There's other ways to automate that too, like using an SMS type service so that you can get opt-ins in an easier way. maybe you don't want to have to do this by hand kind of thing. Doesn't matter. You still have something where you're directly communicating. So that's great. So there's like doing the WhatsApp channels, there's the SMS, depending on, again, like what your artist entrepreneurial vision is. Maybe you really want to get into the email marketing and you want to like start having a way to send out messages about gigs, releases, especially music that's coming out. It's very helpful for that. Tours that you're going to do. You know, there's so many things that you can use like an email list for. Maybe you going to add into your ecosystem as an artist of like, you know, you're going to produce a YouTube channel and you're going to be doing tips and tricks. So like just starting to think like, oh yeah, there's a lot that I can use emails for, and those belong to you. And that's that data collection piece. Like you get to know those people in that audience and you get to connect with them whenever you want. Other things that I see artists using, Patreons, Mighty Networks, like different community building kind of platforms and stuff like that. Those are a little more complex and take a lot, you know, tend to take a lot more energy to maintain. So like if that's not really your way and your style, it doesn't matter. At the minimum, I would think of either email or SMS, something like this, some way that you're gonna take those people from social media, take those people you meet at your at your events and people you connect with all over the place, and funneling them into this place where you get to capture all that information and you get to utilize that in whatever way you want. And you're not reliant on social media, and you're not reliant on platforms that are just really unknown a lot of the times. It's like you could be creating content and putting stuff out and like crickets and crickets and crickets, and you're just like, I don't even know why I'm doing this, you know what I mean? And when we have these other directed channels, it's like, oh yeah, that's why. Because here's the people that, you know, are really invested in me. So I kind of see it as like, it's a helpful feedback loop too for you of like, all right, yeah, like we're in this together, when like social media can feel just like kind of overwhelming and all of that. And like, we need to have that presence. That's just a part of the reality of, you know, showing your brand's presence, showing your artistry, showing what you're about. But these like closer in spaces can be so nourishing for you as an artist too. And they don't have to be like this extra thing that I have to do. This can be the place where you get to like share like exclusive content or like real behind the scenes. Maybe it's stuff you wouldn't post on socials, but you get to like share it there. And so again, like this gets to be fun. This gets to be something that you get to use to express yourself the way that you do when you're at your gigs or your events, or the way that you craft these experiences for people if you're, you know, producing events and all of that. So those were some of the big pieces from ADE that I really wanted to, just bring through in this hour. And I wanted to, like I said, save a little space here at the end, to just, you know, if there's any questions or there's any thoughts that have come up for you guys. And really, you know, those kind of key things, developing the artist brand, that's like it's a non-negotiable now. Like you just have to do it. Getting consistent on socials and really learning how to create content that expresses that brand, and starting to see it as something that gets to be this place where you get to just express yourself as you would, and holding that idea as you go out to create content, plan your schedules for that and all of that. And then this direct to fan action plan, like that's what I'm kind of calling it. I'm getting everyone on board with this. In 2025, there are no excuses. We need to connect with our people, with our community. Like that's what EDM is about. Like to me, I think most of us came into it in that way of like, holy shit, I found my people. Like here they are, you know? So you get to actually create that as an artist for people. They get to have that experience when they come to one of your events and see you play, and they get to go, holy what, like this is it. It's not just the sound, like this is my people and where I belong. So taking that as like the juice. It's not a chore, like you get to create something that's going to be mind blowing for people. So